Hey guys, it's Destiny, and today I wanted to go over all these standard 5-star characters in Wuthering Waves and give you guys an overview on each of these characters, as well as which characters I think are some of the best options to consider. Before we get into today's video though, let me know what video game you guys recommend for others to try out. For today's recommendation, I have to go with Sea of the Stars and the Kirby series for sure. Lastly, if you guys enjoy videos like these, do make sure to subscribe and also hit the like button for more Wuthering Waves content. Now, let's get straight into it. To start, let's go over Jianxin. Jianxin will be an arrow element character who uses gauntlets, and she is a pretty interesting character as she has aspects in her kit that make her pretty defensive in comparison to some of our other characters. She's able to accumulate chi with her attacks, which is very useful as she'll be able to create shields with the chi that you accumulate when you attack with her. And you'll be able to heal some HP as well, and to get these shields, you'll have to hold her heavy attack once you have accumulated enough chi. This definitely makes her more defensive, as mentioned, than most, since you'll be able to have a combination of shields and heals when using her. Jianxin also has a parry counter, which allows her to immediately perform a chi counter onto enemies. Another perk that Jianxin has over other characters is definitely her utility when it comes to grouping together enemies. She's going to be able to create a wind field, which focuses on pulling enemies to the center and dealing arrow damage onto them. This is honestly a very good way for being able to have multiple enemies grouped up, which can make it easier to actually deal with multiple enemies on the field all at once. As for her intro skill, she's going to be able to pull targets closer within a range, which has similar aspects to the wind field that she is able to do with her ultimate. It's just this through her intro skill. And for the outro skill, she'll be able to buff the upcoming ally's resonance liberation damage, which for those of you who aren't sure what that is essentially your ultimate damage in Wuthering Waves. Overall though, Jianxin has quite a few roles that she can fulfill on a team comp, or just a team in general. This includes the defensive capabilities, the utility, as she can help you stay alive longer with the shields and the heals. While she also can damage enemies, her damage is not going to be as great as our other DPS characters, which primarily consist of, for example, Encore, Calcharo, and so on. So as a result, early on, she can be your main DPS, but later on, she will more so transition to a supportive character on your team comp. So I would say to primarily look at those main benefits, as it is primarily that utility factor, and she does feel like a jack of all trades kind of character, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, especially in the case of if you have a limited amount of characters, having a character that can do multiple things can be really useful for an account in general. Next up is Encore, who is a fusion rectifier character, and Encore has mid-range attacks with her little puppets. It's super cute, I love her playstyle, and she's also able to deal explosive attacks onto enemies, and her forte circuit will allow her to unleash a powerful attack onto enemies, which does take a bit to unleash, but it doesn't get interrupted when you swap characters. So you essentially will have Encore charging this attack while you have another character on the field, which can make for some pretty interesting combinations on what you can mix and match with your characters, just to see the potential damage output when you do end up swapping around your characters. What makes Encore really interesting though is when she uses her resonance liberation. Her attacks completely change to a more fast-paced melee style, and allows her to deal a bunch of damage onto enemies, and these attacks still have a bit of range, which assists as well with their overall damage output, since her attacks are also going to be hitting harder when she actually uses her resonance liberation. And as for Encore's outro skill, this allows her to create a fire field around enemies, which continuously damages them for a few seconds, so this can be nice as additional damage output when she isn't on the field. Let's say you swap into your support, you're trying to get those buffs up, and you go right back into Encore hypothetically. Well, this is just nice because that enemy was still taking a little bit of damage when you did swap, and now you're right back into Encore just dealing a bunch of damage, just in this example of course. Overall though, Encore is a nice CPS option which allows you to take advantage of a bit of range, which some of us can definitely appreciate. And this could be this nice range between you and an enemy, and this could be a pretty cool DPS for those who are interested in swapping between characters when she has her forte circuit active. Now we have Lingyang, who is a Glacio Gauntlet character. Lingyang will be your main DPS who focuses on dealing fast attacks onto enemies, as well as being able to perform attacks mid-air, which can result in aerial combos onto enemies with his skill kit. Lingyang will be a character who's on field for a good amount of time, and he's also able to perform swift combos onto enemies, as well as additionally buff his own damage when he uses his Resonance Liberation, which assists him even further with being able to continuously attack enemies, now with higher damage output. He definitely looks pretty fun to play and can be a nice pick for your main DPS on your account if you are interested in his playstyle. Next up, we have our final standard DPS character, which is Calcharo. Calcharo is an Electro Broadblade character who kind of reminds me of another man with long white hair. Yeah, I know what they were going for with this one. But Calcharo is one of the best DPS options you can go for, especially if you're interested in picking up Yinlin, as they have an incredible synergy with one another, and also can deal insane amounts of DPS onto enemies. As for some basics when it comes to Calcharo, he is able to extend his combo strings with his skill kit, enhance his heavy attacks with his Forte Circuit, which allows him to deal more damage, and his Resonance Liberation allows Calcharo to have increased dodge counter damage, and also enhance his basic attacks to deal even more damage onto enemies. In a sense, he has multiple ways to enhance his attacks for far greater damage output, and he is an incredible character when it comes to being your primary DPS. The more you learn his combo strings and possibilities, the more optimization with his skill kit you'll be able to achieve, and he likely won't be easy to master right away, but as you play him more, you'll be able to master those combos, which is pretty exciting in my opinion, since you'll be able to progressively get better at using Calcharo and just taking full advantage of his skill kit and just all the possibilities that are with his kit in general. Lastly though, we have Verina, who is a Spectro Rectifier character who focuses on primarily being a support for the team. Verina is able to provide massive heals for the team, which heavily assists with the survivability of the team. She's able to prevent an ally from taking a fatal hit and going down, and this can be triggered every 10 minutes. And on release, she's definitely going to be the best buffer and supportive character in the game. Verina is going to be able to provide incredible utility with her buffs, which last for 30 seconds, which can improve the damage output of your DPS characters. Plus, the healing is honestly very nice for harder fights where you might actually be struggling to stay alive, so it just provides so much comfortability as well. Alongside all the buffs, she's definitely an awesome pickup for sure. So now that we've gone over all our options though, the one I would recommend the most primarily depends honestly on who you get on the Novice banner, which is only 40 pulls. And then you could pull any standard 5-star character, which will guarantee them with 80 pulls. If you end up getting Encore, Lingyang, or Calcharo as your first 5-star, I would highly recommend Verina as your buffer for the team. Verina provides buffs that practically any DPS in the game can take advantage of, which makes her an incredible character to consider picking up. If you do end up getting Verina as your first choice though on the Novice banner, then you could pick up the DPS of your choice, which would be Calcharo, Encore, or Lingyang. If you plan to pull Yinlin, I would highly recommend Calcharo as your DPS of choice, especially considering he is easily one of the best DPS options from how powerful he is, especially with Yinlin as well. Calcharo will be incredible when it comes to dealing with bosses, and Yinlin's also able to help out with the AoE aspect of damage for this really powerful duo. Encore and Lingyang are also great DPS options, and the choice would primarily depend on which playstyle you honestly prefer. And as for Jianxin, I did mention that she is a jack of all trades, so she doesn't seem to particularly excel at damage output or even supportive capabilities if you do compare her to someone like Verina. So it kind of puts her in a weird position when it comes to comparing her to the other 5-star standard characters. But as I mentioned, since she is a jack of all trades, this can be a benefit. Since if you are free to play, you're lacking characters, you essentially have a character that can assist with multiple roles. So this is definitely a benefit you can consider when it comes to her. And honestly, I could see her potentially becoming way better down the line, just depending on what possibilities we're able to do with this character. Because she is quite an interesting one, as I've mentioned. The grouping is just really nice utility. This could come in really handy later on, or even just the shields in general, the heals, whatever it may be. I could see her, because of how much utility is packed into the character, I can potentially see her getting better later on. Overall though, if I had to give my top recommendations just based off what we know so far, it would definitely be Calcharo, especially for our Yinlin wanters for the massive damage output that this combo is able to do, and Verina of course for the buffer that can assist practically for all of your team comps. I would primarily look at these two the most, and then look at the other characters, But of course, at the end of the day, picking your favorite one out of the bunch is the best option, as honestly, all of these characters are very nice characters who have their benefits that can 100% assist you in your Wuthering Waves journey. And I think it's so awesome that we are able to get one 5-star pretty quickly, and then on that standard banner with the 80 pulls, now we're able to get another 5-star through our guarantee those two 5-stars, which is just really, really nice. And being able to pick that 5-star with the 80 pulls, depending on who you want, is just great for being able to have variety and what your choices could be. Let me know though which 5-star from the standard banner you are most excited for. I will be making a follow-up video to this one sometime after the game is released, just to showcase whichever 5-star I end up getting on the novice banner. So if you guys do want to see that, do make sure to subscribe. And I do apologize, by the way, if I did accidentally pronounce names wrong in this video. If you guys do know how to pronounce them, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. But I do hope to see all of you next time. Peace.